Hi, and welcome to Complete and Cast, the official podcast for Complete and Box video games. This is episode 60, and we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of having a guest or a game review, I am super stoked for Final Fantasy VII Remake, just because, having an actual release date is something that's super cool, and I've been, watching people play Final Fantasy VII on stream a lot, and been listening to the soundtrack a lot. So today, well, as part of it, today we're going to rank all 75 songs on the official soundtrack from 75 to number 1. Now, let me go over how I did this real quick. I listened to every song, and I just put a brief score out of 10. What I did then was, at the end, I grouped them all together, so the 5 out of 10s were together and the 9 out of 10s were together. I would take in each individual 5 out of 10, and I would go ahead and compare them to each other, like all the other 5 out of 10s, and, the worst 5 out of 10 would be, 75, then the next was 74, and on and on and on, till we got to number 1. So, there's really not too many bad tracks on this soundtrack. It really is one of the best soundtracks out there. It's awesome. Now, I did have one rule, and the one rule was that the song itself had to be over 1 minute long, or else it was not included. So we're going to hear some of those before we get started. Generally how this is going to go is I'm going to announce what it is, we're going to start playing it, we're going to listen to it a little bit. Depending on how loud of a song it is, I might be talking over it, or I might just let it play for a little bit. But let's get started real quick with the songs that did not make it because they are not a minute long. You will not hear them on this list. First up, we have Fanfare. You will be familiar with this song. This is the song for When You Win, and it's 48 seconds long, and it's very memorable, but it is not on the list. Next up, we have Good Night Until Tomorrow. This happens when you go to the inns. We have Waltz de Chocobo, which is the song something, I forget exactly if this is when you're like riding on chocobos or something, but anyway, it's only 30 seconds long. It's a good tune, but does not go. We have Continue. We've all been here, fighting Emerald and Ruby Weapon. Even though technically it is listed on this MP3 as 2 minutes, on the official soundtrack it's like 40 seconds. I don't really count it either way. We have Winning Chocobo Races, a great success. I think we've all heard that a few times. Another song we haven't heard much is Tango of Tears, If You Lose a Chocobo Race. This one you would really only hear if you're racing a crappy Chocobo or if you go against Theo and his black Chocobo. This is The Countdown Begins. This is right near the end of the game. I believe it's when you're going into Midgar at the very end. But it's only 48 seconds long. So, doesn't count, even though it's just like a lot of other stuff, an awesome tune. And one last thing to mention before we get into the list proper, I did not include the staff credits, and I didn't include the final song that goes along with the final cutscene called World Crisis. I don't think it stands by itself as a song just like separately, because it was made specifically for the final cutscene. I just don't feel that it stands on its own. It's a weird song to just listen to, so I didn't include that as well. So we have 75 songs. This is what I consider to be the worst song on the Final Fantasy soundtrack, Final Fantasy VII soundtrack. This is Trail of Blood. You might remember it as when you first encounter Genova on the Shinra ship. After you find out that everyone's dead. It doesn't do anything for me. It's also way too long on the soundtrack. It's like 4 minutes long, and I feel like this could be done in like a minute and a half. And again, it's just, you'll find that throughout my list, a lot of the happier songs end up higher. Deal with it, it's my list. So, yeah, like I said, there's very few songs I would consider really bad on the on the soundtrack, but that's one I just could do without. Number 74, we have Who Are You? You hear this song a lot when there's, like, Cloud kind of, like, fighting with, like, you know, who he is, especially if he hears those, like, voices in his head, and it's 2.5 minutes of pretty much this. I could do without this song. Next up, number 73, we have The Great Northern Cave. I skipped ahead a little because there's not much going on here. You might recognize this as the world music after the meteor is up in the sky. I love the Final Fantasy VII main theme that you get on the overworld, and we'll hear that later. This does not do much for me. It's okay. I would not. The first three I would consider either bad songs or non-songs. This is okay. The simple fact that you have to listen to it so much. Anything you do on the Outer World in Disc 2 and 3 really puts it down on the list for me. I get very sick of hearing this song. I love when world map music is like something that's like majestic, because you're going to listen to it a lot. So that was number 73. We're heading to 72. This is Infiltrating Shinra Tower. You'll recognize this as the music that plays in Shinra Tower when you're there the first time for sure, and possibly the second time if you revisit in Midgar. It is an okay song. It's just the same thing over and over again, unfortunately. It really wears itself out. Oh, I forgot to mention, this might be in 2 parts. Just depends on how fast I want to go through these. As we get to songs I like more, I'm going to let them play a little bit more so I can explain. But like I said, there really isn't that much going on. It does remind you of Shinra Tower, which is a great part of the game, but the music itself, I'm just okay on. This is Who Am I?, which is a similar, obviously, song to Who Are You?, which we just heard. This you hear in the live stream when Cloud is trying to piece himself together. It's every Final Fantasy VII speedrunner's favorite part because it's text. Although the first time you do it, piecing yourself together in it it's really well done. It's just playing it again is very tough. So that was 71, Who Am I? We have number 70 is On That Day 5 years ago. This song is played at pretty much every sad moment in the game. Especially, I believe it is the theme that plays in Nibelheim. I'm pretty sure. And obviously, On That Day 5 years ago, signifies the whole Sephiroth, incident. And, again, as you'll find, a lot of the sadder songs are lower on my list. There's really nothing wrong with it as a song, but it's not a huge fan of it. Next we have, they call this one Desert Wasteland. This is what you hear when you're in the prison underneath the gold saucer. I thought about putting this as one of the absolute lowest on the list, like literally number 75, because I really don't like it. I'm not saying it's a bad song, it's just, it's not for me. The reason it's a little bit higher is I feel it fits where it is very well. You don't want to have anything light and happy, at the Corel prison. So it's at best okay, and I just don't like its general, tone, but I understand why it is what it is. Next up, we have Mining. I believe this is called Mining Town. Yeah, Mining Town, number 68. You'll recognize this as the music that plays in Corel, which is the place right outside of Gold Saucer. I love the little clicks that you hear right there. This right here. That's pretty good. Like I said, it really fits it as well, and I like it a lot better than Desert Wasteland. So 67, we have Great Warrior. This is the music that plays when you find Red 13's dad. I'm blanking on what his name is. Seto. The Great Warrior Seto. Again, it fits the mood, but it is just simply okay for me. It's nothing, super fantastic. We're going to let it go through for this part just so we can hear the second part real quick. I do love the melody there, so that's something real nice. And it also, if we skip ahead a little bit, it does have that kind of like booming percussion in the background that does put it up a little bit for me. Again, it's not a song that's made for me, but I definitely understand. Now, here's an interesting one. This is Anxious Heart, number 66. This is the one song that wasn't on the soundtrack I downloaded, which I found weird, so I actually had a YouTube video pulled up of it. This is all over Midgar. Many, many places where you are. Again, it fits where you are, I get it, but it just doesn't resonate with me. It wouldn't be something I would be, like, humming, or specifically, I wouldn't add it to a playlist to play. So, again, kind of is what it is on that. It's an okay song. So, coming up next, we have 65, From the Edge of Despair. I actually really like I like the song more than I should. And I think it's all the background. The lower parts. Do 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 do. There's something about it. And this I believe specifically you hear this when Cloud is in the wheelchair in Medeal after he has the radiation poisoning. Yeah, life stream poisoning, Mako poisoning, Mako poisoning. Again, it's an okay song. It's out of all the slow ones, the more somber songs we've heard so far, it's definitely the best. This one you hear all the time. I have this title listed as In the Search of the Man in Black. You will find that some titles on YouTube and whatever will be slightly different. The translation on this is not great. I'm pretty sure that this plays in the Forgotten City, where you find holy materia and something happens to Eris, I guess. It's like I said, this is we're getting to the point where everything on this list, now that we're done with the first 10, is starting to really resonate with me. So this is Mako Cannon, The Destruction of Shinra. This is only listed as a 45-second song on the MP3, but on the official soundtrack it's listed as longer, so I counted it. My list, I can do it. I love what's happening in this scene. It's where the Mako Cannon is shooting at the northern crater and trying to take down a Sephiroth's barrier and everything. So next up we have 62. I'm going to skip ahead on this one because the intro is a little slow. This is Launching a Dream into Space. This is the music that plays when the rocket from Rocket Town is going into space with Sid and all that. Again, somber, understandable. Sid's been waiting his whole life to send this into space, and he's finally into space, so, it's definitely like a song to get you, in the mood of like thinking like, wow, this is it. The final frontier. It's a decent song. Next up, we have 61. This is Debut. This plays when you're at the Gold Saucer on your date and you are acting in the play. I know it happens a couple other times, but I can't, like, it's not coming to me right now. I love the melody here. It's just so, this is me. I'm all about the light and bumpy music. I wanted to put this higher, but it doesn't have much to it. Like, it's light and airy, but it's not like, there's no depth to it, which, again, you know, is fine for what it is. I really didn't know what to do with this song. This is Stolen Materia. It doesn't have too much to it. It's when Yuffie, you know, steals materia from you in Wutai. This song speaks to me. But again, it's not like, there's no depth. You wouldn't want to hear it all the time. I wouldn't add it to a playlist, but when it's playing during the parts in the game, it's very much enjoyable. Now we're hitting to the 50s. We're really getting up there. This is On the Other Side of the Mountain. I don't know if I could tell you exactly when this plays. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I don't know if I can tell you exactly when this plays in the game. This might be like flashbacks to when, you know, Cloud and Tifa and stuff were younger. And then it gets to that, more, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? It gets a little less melodic. A little more harmonic. Again, not a song I would add to a playlist, but it really fits the mode, and I like it. We have 58 is Reunion. So this is playing in right before Disc 1 ends, and you're in the Northern Crater, and you see all the weapons, like the monster weapons. It's definitely playing there, and I think it's playing in one of the northern continent, like, towns. I love the background, though. The background was music was kind of used again in the Under the Sea part, which we'll hear later. But that's the kind of tune that really fits the second half of the game. So heading up next, we have 57. Is either Open Your Heart or If You Open Your Heart. I can't tell you a specific time this plays, unfortunately. Oh, you know what? This plays at Fort Condor. That's right. It plays at Fort Condor. It's a it's a good song, but when this part coming up comes in, that really slaps, as the kids would say. Okay, so next up we have... Apparently where I have this... Apparently, this is Livestream, 56. Apparently this is one that a lot of people would have much, 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 much higher. I had a friend tell me this would be top 5. I just don't know. I think this is playing when you're in Bugenhagen's, like, observatory in Cosmo Canyon, and he's showing you, like, how the planet's dying and all that. It fits. It very much fits. It's a good song, but it's not even close to hitting the top 20 for me. Sorry, everyone who disagrees. 55 is... We have Tifa's theme. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit because it's a slower song. I think I have this kind of low because it reminds me of a lot of really, really slow cutscenes early on in the game where Tifa's like, Cloud, remember you promised? And you're like, huh? And she's like, yeah, okay. This part here is a good melody. You mostly hear this early in the game. You mostly hear this in Midgar. Again, decent song. 54 is Wutai. A very weird place, and in fact, one of, if not the only places in the game that is completely unnecessary to go to. You do not have to ever go to Wutai. I think that's the only town that has to be that's the S way. It's all right. It really gives that Japanese feel, which is great. And it's memorable, I will say that, but it's not one that, you know, I'm pumping my feet to or anything. 53. This song's actually probably pretty high on a lot of people's lists. Again, doesn't super resonate with me. This is Flowers Blooming in the Church. This is clearly, it's not, although it's not Eris's theme, it's definitely considered like a theme of Eris. And in fact, I bet a lot of people would consider this the theme over the one literally called Eris's theme, which we'll hear later. Again, decent song. This is 52, Racing no, I'm sorry. This is called Win, Place, Show, Chocobo, or Racing Chocobos, Place Your Bets. I love all Chocobo music. You haven't heard a single piece of Chocobo music yet. This one is just, definitely the weakest of the bunch, but it's also not meant to be played for super long, because all you do is see it on the screen when you're about to Chocobo race, which you only ever read for 5 seconds. Definitely a decent song. I have a feeling this might rub some people the wrong way. 51 is Forest Temple. Yeah, Forested Temple. This is the Temple of the Ancients music. I really didn't know what to do with this song. I feel like this song could be top 10 on a lot of people's lists, and at the same point, bottom 20. It's almost bottom 20 for mine. 51 is 24 off. I don't know if it's just because I don't like the point in the game that this represents, like the whole Temple of the Ancients. I was never a huge fan of that particular part of the game. Maybe it's because of what comes right after it, which is the end of Disc 1, which is bad, sad, and junk. So we're heading to number 50. We're really getting up there. We have Mark of the Traitor. This is a super memorable song, and a lot of times it's meant to deal with Barrett stuff, I believe. I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit. There's not a whole heck of a lot going on with song, but it's used so much in the game that I really had to put it somewhere in the middle. '49, we have Dear to the Heart, or as the MP3 is called, Holding My Thoughts in My Heart. I'm going to call it Dear to My Heart. This is played many times with Eris. A lot of times early on in the game, like when you first meet her. And it really feels like an Eris theme, too. It could be called Eris Theme 2, and I'm sure people would be, you know, perfectly fine with that. We're going to let it go just a little bit longer so we can get the second part. It's really nice. I will admit, although I'm not a slow-paced music kind of guy, that melody there is very nice. So this one's going to throw a lot of people off because I had someone tell me that this is a top 3 song in the game. This is Interrupted by Fireworks. This happens on the date in the Gold Saucer with either Eris, Barrett, or Tifa. I guess Eris, Tifa, or Barrett would be the best way because that's the least likely of happening. When you're on the gondola. Knowing myself and knowing how I just don't like real slow-paced music, this could literally be number 75. Or it could be number, 30 or 40. It's a good song, it's just, again, doesn't super fit me. Although this melody's very nice. So, Interrupted by Fireworks is going to be interrupted by Yeah, that's right, folks. I have a feeling this legitimately might be the last, like the lowest one on many people's lists because it's annoying. Well, you know what? Honeybee in Pooh or Sir is a fantastic track. I would add this to a playlist. Quite frankly, if I did it, if I did my scoring differently, I might put this like top 25, top 30. I love this song. It's silly, it's goofy. It really encapsulates how weird Midgar is, like how just odd the entire area is. So, 46. This is not a super long one. And this is only seen one time. It's called Steal the Tiny Bronco. When you steal the Tiny Bronco, it plays. So, you know, you get on it, you fly away. I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit. Then it devolves to this because what's happening in the cutscene is the Tiny Bronco is getting shot down by Shinra soldiers and Rufus and all that. I didn't really know where to put this because it's cutscene specific. It only happens once and it's for that specific cutscene. But unlike the final cutscene, which I didn't include, this one I feel stands on its own. Maybe also because it's only a minute long. You know, it's not 8 minutes long like the other one. Oh, I love this song. Lurking in the Darkness. This is where we're getting to the point where it's top 40, which is about the you know, half of it. Pretty much every song, once we get to number 40, is going to be like something that just jams, that I love. This is played so often in the slums of Midgar, which you'll find a lot of my top list is just Midgar stuff, because I just love the soundtrack there. And considering that has a lot of bass, you could literally, quite literally say that that slaps. So this is officially Aeris's theme. I'm actually going to skip ahead because... so yeah, this happens when Aeris... something happens to her at the end of Disc 1. And then this immediately starts playing. And then a lot of other times, when the characters are remembering Aeris and all that, it plays. It is a good track. It really is. And I feel it encapsulates, like, how they feel about her and how they, you know, miss her and, you know, what she was doing for the world with Holy and all that. Good track. Next up we have... This is the one that started it all. This is Disc 1, Track 1. The Prelude, or Prelude. This is what you hear on the opening scroll. I'm going to skip ahead a little. And I really like how this song builds. If I had all the time in the world, I would let it keep going through and build, but this is what we have, you know. This is probably going to be in 2 parts, but, you know, can't listen to every song. The soundtrack's 4 hours long. This is great. It really, a lot of the older Final Fantasies use the exact same music, but that orchestral stuff they added really showed, oh, this is next gen. This is the power of the PlayStation. Coming up to 42... we have Dawn of the Slums. This obviously plays definitely when you are with Don Canero, I think his name is, in Wall Market, and it's a very silly song. Especially, I love this part coming up. If you listen to that tuba in the background. Oh my goodness. And the melody's just all over. It sounds like someone just jamming on the keyboard, but it really works. It sounds like it shouldn't work, but it really does work. That's an awesome song. Now we got Cid's theme, which definitely plays when like Cid is in outer space and like, I'm here, I'm doing it. Very majestic. It makes you feel like what would be playing, you know, as you're commanding a ship, you know, through the air or through space. It just has that majestic, dare I say it, epic feel. Let's skip ahead a little. Ooh, this is so good. Love it. What a perfect track for the character. It's great. Now this is Those Chosen by the Planet, number 40. This is, you might as well call it Sephiroth's theme, because stuff's about to go down. Do you hear that chorus? They mean business. This fits. It fits all the badness of Sephiroth. I love it when it's in the cutscene in the Calm flashback where he pulls Genova down and you see his, the text appear on screen and everything. It's just so fitting. I mean, imagine playing this, like hearing this, you'd be like, that dude is the bad guy. He's not a bad guy, he's the bad guy. We're already up to the 30s. This is fantastic. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up to probably 35 or 30 and call it a part because I want to focus a little bit more time on the songs I like a little bit better at the top. So this is The Nightmare Begins. This, I believe, is playing... Oh no, this is Vincent's theme. I keep forgetting. So this is the theme that plays when you're talking to Vincent when he's in the Shinra Mansion and all that. Again, the MIDI, I guess whatever you would call that, harpsichord or whatever it is, really makes it feel all dark and depressed. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. Fits Vincent to a T, honestly. Number 38, we have Listened to the Cries of the Planet. This, I believe, is... I might have been wrong earlier when I said this is what's playing in the Forgotten City, because I think this is what's playing in the Forgotten City. But just that kind of bell in the background that plays once in a while really drives the point home of, like, you shouldn't be where you are. Listen to the cries of the planet. I mean, this is what it sounds like. Like, the planet is dying, and it's telling you. When it adds those almost, like, voices in the background, too. The ones going, Next up, we got one that I'm going to have to skip a little bit of. This is the Final Fantasy 7 main theme, but we're going to skip ahead a little bit. Simply because this is a 12-minute song. We're going to try to play certain parts of it. Oh, yeah, I actually picked a perfect part. So this is what world map music should sound like. I'm not saying it's the best one out there, but when you first enter the world map from Midgar and you realize this is what it is, this crazy big place, you thought Midgar was the whole game, and then this music hits you, this is what it's about. This is world building. This is making it feel bigger than it actually is. It's a fantastic track, and I'm so sad that Disc 2 and 3 don't have it playing anymore, because it was just meant to be. Absolutely lovely. Good stuff. Okay. I love this song. We're to the point where pretty much at this point I'm going to love every single song here. This is Secret of the Deep Sea. It's what's playing when you're in the submarine under the sea, kind of exploring. Of course, the first thing that comes to mind when you hear this song is Emerald Weapon. You're absolutely going to, think about him, going around. One of my only, big complaints about FF7 is that I wish there was a little bit more undersea stuff. You have Emerald Weapon, you have the Sunken Galenka, and you have finding the Key of the Ancients. But, if there are one or two more, things under there, bases, or, the underwater reactor is cool, but you're not technically underwater for it. And it feels like you're exploring in a deep, dark place. That's kind of how I feel when they go through this. So that is such a great track. I could listen to that all day. Now we have the exact opposite. It's hard to stand on both feet, or it's difficult to stand on both feet, isn't it? I forget if there's multiple times this is playing, but it's definitely playing when you're first on the Shinra ship. When you're dressed as the Shinra sailors. And I think the reason they call it that is, if you remember during the scene, Red 13 is walking on 2 feet because he's dressed as a Shinra sailor and he can't be, you know, a cat. And I think that's where the title comes from. It's difficult to stand on both feet, which is funny because, you know, that's a very small part of the scene. I'm trying to skip ahead to one part. Oh, here we go. I love this. Anything that has that kind of bass line where it's almost like a tuba going boom, 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 boom. I don't even care if I'm letting this play a little bit too long. Like, I'm digging on it right now. What a good song. 34. This is Judgment Day. This is playing in the Northern Crater. And it sure as heck feels like you're at the final place in the game. Which is, it's hard to believe considering so much of the music has that majestic, epic feel that they could create something that's even more. When I hear this music, especially the percussion, I almost imagine you're almost on like some sort of like factory or assembly line where you're getting towards the end of it and like going down to this crater, you have like all the craziest monsters almost like working all together, almost like an assembly line would be. It has that kind of feel, especially with the percussion. But yeah, it so feels like the end of the game. So 33. This is Fort Condor. Although it's not the music that's playing when you're in Fort Condor, it's the music that's playing when you're on the battlefield of Fort Condor. The drums here really does it for me. It just has that battle, you know. Back in the day, Revolutionary War, they would have, you know, drummers walking in battle. Dun, 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 you know, keep them in step and whatever. And just the drum beat there makes it feel like, okay, you're marching into battle. Oh my goodness. And you know what? You don't even do it that often in the game. Like, I don't know how many times you hear this, but it's like something that, you know, they would be playing to get you in the mood to battle. What a lovely track. 32. This is full-scale, Shinra's Full-Scale Assault. This is pretty much what is playing in a lot of the parts when you're going into Midgar the second time, when you're going back to take down Rufus and everything. I love that part of the game, and maybe that's the reason I put this relatively so high, because... And the drums as well. The drums, just like the last track, actually, makes it feel like you're going into battle. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna skip ahead real quick. I forget if there's... Oh, yeah, here we go. Just builds. And the bass drum that they have, or the big drum, I don't know exactly what you would call it, I'm losing the word, but it works so well with it. Alright, just a couple more for this part. We have 31 is Ahead on Our Way. This song is played in a lot of the more chill towns. I know it's played in the bottom part of Junon. And it just has that comfy feel. It's all about just... I think of a comfy small town. You know, everyone knows your name. Everything's real close. Maybe you're snuggled in for the night and it's snowing, you know, that kind of thing. Or you're just out for a walk on a nice fall day. gonna skip ahead a little. Really relaxing feeling tune. So this is the last one we're going to look at today. This is Provincial Town. I hope I pronounced that right. This is played in Medial. And I think somewhere in Midgar, but I'm kind of forgetting on that. I love whatever they use for the melody here, whatever the instrument or MIDI instrument, it's so good. And it feels like a slum, because Medial's kind of a slum. It's like, you know, you think it would be like real Richie Tooty, you know, where it is in the world, but it's not. And it fits a lot of places in Midgard too, because again, it has a slum-like sound to the song, but it's not like an overall depressing kind of thing. It's more like, this is who we are, this is what it is, we make it. It's almost like a blue-collar kind of song. We get up every day, we do what we have to do, we live in squalor, but we're gonna survive. So that was 45 of the songs. We got done less than a minute each. That's awesome. Next time we're going to see songs number 29 through number 1. And I'm going to give each one of those, probably just because there's less of them, probably a little bit more time per song. Especially the top 10, I'm going to really explain exactly what's going on, exactly why I like the song. But, you know, I'm going to give it probably about that much per song right there. No, everything from now on, like, really deserves, you know, a deeper look in. So the last 30 songs will probably be just about the same length as this episode. So thank you for watching. This was episode 60, where we looked at the number 75 through 30 songs. Obviously, if you haven't read the description, you can see all the different names. You can find all the songs on YouTube easily. You can even find the full soundtrack on YouTube. Listen to it on the way to work, and you will have a much better morning, or the way home, and you'll have a much better night. So thank you again for listening. I very much appreciate it. We'll see you in episode 61, part 2, where we really hit the good stuff. Thank you again for listening.